What is up, friend? Hey, I am Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business podcast, where I talk to you about how to grow your video business without burning out. On this show, we cover things like how to get more clients, how to be more productive without sacrificing your creativity, and how to get paid what you're worth. This sounds like you, then you are in the right place. I'm very excited about this episode, a little bit nervous because I'm coming off of what I felt like was one of the most vulnerable episodes I've ever recorded. Although I will say that the feedback that you guys shared with me in how you resonated with last week's episode has been super encouraging. I record this whole episode and then I send it off, it goes off to the editors and it gets, polished and all that stuff. And then it goes into the wild, into the internet sphere, and then people can listen or not listen. But it's like when you send a draft or a final to a client and then you just wait to hear back from them, hoping that you don't hear back from them. Or you send like a huge proposal to a client and you're hoping that they're not offended by, the huge dollar number that you assign to the proposal, and then you start second guessing every decision that you've made in your entire life. That was kind of last week's episode. I was like, man, I think it's important to share your heart and to be vulnerable. I think that's like one of the best things that we can do as humans as we are interacting with other humans and trying to build community and relationship and trying to build trust and all that stuff. But at the same time, there was a feeling of like, I hope that resonates. I hope I'm not in left field. But man, to know I'm not alone in feeling like an imposter, that felt good. So I'm back, and this is in response to an email that I got in response to that episode. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Starbucks Via, the only coffee to drink while podcasting. Just kidding. This podcast isn't sponsored by that. I think we do have a sponsor. It's not time for the sponsor. What am I doing? I'm wrecking the whole show. Okay, so Michael sent me an email and he said, thank you so much for this podcast. I actually really like the ones, whatever. He likes the ones where it's just me. And that's an interesting thing. I will say that too, because I think for a long time I've just leaned on, and maybe I've used it as a crutch, always having a guest and feeling like, oh yeah, it's real easy to do a show when I point the spotlight at other people. But maybe I need to talk about my own business and the struggles that I'm having in my own business more. And anyway, that was encouraging. So Michael said, is there any chance you'd be willing to suggest 3 habits, exercises? I would like to help get rid of the scarcity mindset. Help me climb that mountain, he says. So this is an attempt to address that. Scarcity mindset, I've talked about this in the past. I think that because it had such a grip on my life for so long. And, there's, I think when I was first introduced to this concept, that it was a concept, scarcity and abundance. And, maybe I heard it from the wrong place, and I just kind of like my mind went somewhere that probably it shouldn't. It wasn't intended to, but there's like this, like the way, like I'm a spiritual person, and but I would like to say, and maybe if you know me, maybe you don't think, but I would like to say I'm also grounded, right? So I'm like, like my feet are on the ground, but my heart and my eyes are, I don't know, they look up. Is that cheesy? I think it's like both and for me. I've met incredible people along my journey, and some people, they seem to, and this probably sounds so bad, but they seem to have more of their head in the cloud and they're just harder for me to relate to, on this earth, as we're like, doing this thing called life and whatever. So, sometimes I hear things and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good in theory, But at the end of the day, like, I've got to like get up, I've got to eat breakfast, I got to, put my pants on like everybody else does and get out into the world and do the stuff. Like, I can't just like dream and pray and like, all the things happen. Like it's just like, faith and works and action, faith and action, like those, like, doing the thing. Love is a verb, sorry, I did just have almost a full cup of coffee. So when I was introduced to this concept of abundance, it felt like it was more just like, oh yeah, if you think it, or like manifesting, like if you think it, it will happen. And I think part of that is true. The part being like, if you think it, if you say it out loud, write it down, I think it is more likely to happen. Right. I don't think like, we're not like magicians and we can't like conjure up, like it is more likely to happen. Right. $1,000. I think I can manifest $1,000. $1 million is what I meant to say. I can't just manifest that. I can't like think it, pray it, write it down enough times. It's not just going to show up. Like I have to do something. So again, like both and again, hopefully this isn't coming across wrong. So again, like both and this is what you get. You get the unfiltered me. When you ask for me, you're going to get it. Okay. When we talk about when you start your business, it is scary. Just maybe where that word comes from, scarcity. It's scary because if you leave a full-time job, if you leave the cushion of a salary of 401k, insurance, all of that stuff, if you leave that to pursue the thing that you're passionate about, you better hope that it works out. And it's scary. And it's scary when you watch your checking account go from, or your savings account go from this down to here, and it's like, oh, geez, that's like below the zero line. Like it's in the negative. Like what the heck? So when that happens, or when it starts to happen, our natural response, and it's scary when you watch your checking account as like, like one of the human responses is, we're going to survive. We're going to do what it takes to survive. So then we just do all sorts of crazy things. And one of the worst things that we can do in business, one thing that we feel like we need to do in order to survive is we slash our prices. It's like, well, if I'm not getting work, it's because I'm too expensive. That is one of the first places where our mind goes. Second place probably is like my work sucks, and probably always going to feel like that. It doesn't. It could always be better, sure. But one of the like our responses or reactions, even if we feel like our work is not that good or as good as it should be, we're charging too much for it. So what we feel like we need to do in order to survive is just lower our prices. There's probably a lot of things that we could be doing different or better that would allow us to charge what the work is worth. But we've been programmed. If you're like me, I was programmed growing up to think and feel like that. With a scarcity mindset, like what I've experienced in the past when the bank account was going low is I would feel like that. Hold on to, this job that I've created for myself, this video business. And in that, like, I would hold really tight to this thing that I created, and like, okay, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? Who do I need to meet? What are the things I need to do? What do I need to create? Who do I need to discount? Like, just like, I don't know, million miles an hour, exhausted because I'm like just holding the reins really tight. I'm pulling up my boots by the bootstraps. Like I'm just doing all of the things to try to make this business work, try to make sure that I have money in the account, to try to make sure that it works. And that's exhausting. What I would rather do is just like do the work instead of like make it happen. I would rather just like happen, right? That's like way more peaceful and way more fulfilling, and it's not as stressful and tiresome. So in this episode, I want to share a couple of practical things that I've done that have really helped me have a bigger vision of the world, a bigger vision of this job that I have created for myself, a bigger vision for feeling like, you know what, there's a lot more work out there. So if my competition for feeling like, you know what, there wins one of my clients and I lose that client, it's like totally okay. To get to that spot where it's like, okay, that's a weird place to be. And that might sound totally foreign. Like, how could you ever be okay with somebody taking one of your clients? Well, first off, you don't own any clients, right? They're free to do whatever they want to do. So let's just get that out of the way. You don't own any of your clients. So if you can think in terms of like, it's our job to earn the business of our clients. And just because you win your client for a job or for a series of jobs or over a number of years or whatever, they don't owe you anything, okay? They just owe you whatever your invoice says at the end of the day, as long as they signed a contract and all that stuff. So besides feeling like, you know, somebody, that's a scarcity mindset, feeling like, oh, somebody, you know, stole your client. I have somebody that I've coached in the past who said their goal was to figure out how to crush their competition. And like I think the sentiment behind that, I think, is like, I want to grow my business. So it's two ways of thinking about it. It's like, I want to grow my business or I want to crush the competition. Like, pick one. One feels better, right? Grow your business. And how are you going to do that? You're going to outperform the competition. You're going to create better stuff. You're going to, you know, have better marketing. You're going to know how to sell better. You're going to work on you and do the things that you need to do. And then what might happen is you might crush the competition, right? But don't let that be your goal. Don't let the goal be to crush the competition. Let the goal be to, like, I want to rise. I want to be the best. I want to strive to be the best or one of the best in this field. I want to strive for excellence, and then let the chips fall as they may. So one thing to do as you're kind of listening to this and thinking through, like, you know, do I have a scarcity mindset? Do I have an abundant mindset? You know, which one, where are you? If you struggle with feeling like, man, is there enough work? And then what do I do when I don't feel like there's enough? Like, am I reeling? And am I just like doing things that are just not rational, cutting my prices and approaching people and just doing whatever I can and letting them know how desperate I am for work? Like, that's the last person in the world that I want to work with, is somebody who's like, really, please, man, I really need this job. I know you're looking at another company and they're, you know, like, I just, I don't know if I want to feed that beast, you know? So I think if you experience scarcity, I think stepping back and just trying to, like, figure out, like, what is that about scarcity? Like, what is the thing that scares you? What is the fear there? And being able to name the fear. And if, you know, maybe it's like, well, I'm afraid that I wouldn't be able to support my employees. I have employees and I wouldn't be able to pay them. Or I have a family and I wouldn't be able to support my family. Or I have a mortgage, or I have a really cool car. And, you know, if I didn't get this job, I wouldn't be able to make the payments on it. Like, whatever. Or you would just feel like, you know, you failed. Your dad always told you that, you know, you would amount to nothing, and you started this business and it started going great. And then all of a sudden you hit a roadblock and you're like, oh no, now I can't prove my dad wrong anymore, you know, because the business is failed. Like, whatever the fear is, if you can just think on that and try to say, like, what is that? Like, what am I afraid of? What's the worst that can happen? If you can start there and actually name that, a good next step to do then is to say, like, okay, well, what's the opposite of that? What's actually true? Because the thing that we're most afraid of usually isn't what's real. So, you know, a fear might be of, and this is something that I felt a long time ago, if my business fails, all of my friends and everybody that supported me along the way they're going to think I'm a failure. And while some people may, the people that really love me and support me, they don't care about that. They don't care if, it's like my mom. I could never be a failure in the eyes of my mom, I don't think. Right, Mom? So, but what am I believing? I'm believing that, if I don't succeed, if I don't make enough money, if I go bankrupt or whatever, then my friends and family they're just going to think I'm a failure. What's actually true? The truth is, if my business fails, if I go bankrupt, I actually have family and friends that would come around me and my family, my wife and kids, and support us financially. They would give us food. I remember I've shared this story before. Back in 2016, only 6 years ago, we were faced with probably the toughest time financially in this business that I've ever experienced. And I was sitting around a table with 4 really close friends and my wife, and sharing where we were at financially, and I just started crying. And it was a feeling of I'm working so hard and it's just not working. There was sadness there, but also just knowing that these people that I'm sharing with were with me. They were with us. And my one friend said, dude, if you need help paying your mortgage, we got you, and groceries, we got you. You're going to be taken care of. Me, I wanted the video jobs and stuff that we were proposing. I wanted those to work out and for us to, get our money there and for that to work out. But really at the end of the day, what was true is that even if my business failed, even if I went in the red and we became, unable to function, the thing that's true in all of that, we would be supported. We would be loved. We would be accepted. We would be invited in and closer probably to the community that we were surrounded with. So I think being able to identify the fear and then thinking through what's actually the truth, not the thing that, the voice that whispers in the back of your head that's telling you the lie, the thing that's making you afraid, or, the thing that you're afraid of or from, and saying well, what is true about all of this? And granted, there's some, real ramifications of going bankrupt. Maybe you lose your house, but there's probably lessons to learn in all of that, right? Nobody wants to lose their house. Nobody wants to go bankrupt. We don't want those things to happen. Back when I started my video company, stock footage, it used to be the worst. It was terrible quality, super cheesy shots, and really small selection, and it was really expensive. That is not the case with Storyblocks. They offer affordable subscription plans to their enormous library of stock footage, and with their unlimited access plan, you get access to the whole library, including HD and 4K footage. They've got After Effects and Premiere Pro templates, music, images, sound effects, and more. Seriously, there is tons. There have been so many projects where our team just needed one extra shot. Maybe the day after the shoot, the client was like, hey, this would have been a great thing to get. And we're like, or in post-production, they're like, hey, it'd be a really cool shot. We've saved our clients and ourselves a ton of money and headaches and heartaches. And we've saved a couple of projects that just needed that one special shot with our Storyblocks subscription. Head over to storyblocks.com/Studio Sherpas to help you create more video with their affordable subscriptions. But I think if you can identify that fear and then think about what's true, write out what's true. There's a book that I read a few weeks ago, actually a book that I listened to by John Acuff called Soundtracks. I've shared this before. This is so cheesy. I was never one to write down and speak aloud affirmations, look in the mirror and be like, Ryan, Ryan, believe in myself. And I love how John broke this down in this book. Highly recommend this book because Soundtracks, it's this what are the stories that we're telling ourselves? What are the things that we're listening to that aren't true? Writing down the things that are true, speaking those out, looking at yourself in the mirror or in the camera, in saying those things out loud just burn a little bit deeper into your heart, into your brain, into your subconscious. And maybe there's parts of your body that don't believe those things, but you need to speak that truth to yourself. And this is where like it might feel like head in the clouds kind of stuff, but I've done a little bit of research, studying, whatever you want to call it, on the subconscious, and it is crazy that your subconscious is like active. Like when you go to sleep, your subconscious is still present. That's how you can dream. That's how you can breathe. That's how your heart beats. All that stuff. But your brain's going. And there's like if you ever read Think and Grow Rich, I think it's in that book where he talks about, I don't know if it's Thomas Edison or like somebody smart and who died a long time ago and did like amazing things. Like they would go to bed thinking about, a problem or an invention or, something like that. And then they would wake up and they would know what to do. And it was because they kind of figured out, I think, a little bit way like how to leverage their subconscious. I know it sounds like so weird, but I think like it's science and there's stuff about that that's true. Don't take my word for it. I'm not a doctor, but I've read a couple of books and it's true. So I think it starts with that, like, identifying, writing it out, speaking it out loud. And I've heard people say like, well, speak it into the universe. And that's where like this rub of like, okay, well, I can't just like conjure up, but bear with me here. I think it's more than like conjuring up. It's believing. If you, subconscious aside or whatever, if your present conscious self can believe that you have what it takes, can believe in this abundance versus scarcity, to say like, I can there's more work out there. There's more clients out there. There's more opportunity out there. I don't need to discount what I'm doing. What I'm doing what I'm doing can help businesses make so much more money. They can hire so much better talent. If you can do those things, if you have the power to do that with your video camera and your computer, shooting, editing, creating something, if you can do that, that is powerful, that is valuable, and probably more valuable than you are sticking value to it. Okay? So if you can, just your present conscious self can believe that will be helpful. I think having affirmations and saying that stuff out loud will reinforce that for your present self. But also, I think like there's a weird thing that your subconscious listens to that and is like, yeah, we got this. And when you can enter a room thinking and believing that this is valuable, what I'm about to share with you about how video can help your business, can transform your business. When you think like that, it's a lot different than going into a client meeting thinking like, well, I really need this. I need to get this job. I'm not going to tell them that, but I really need this. I need this to work out. Like this is the one opportunity that I have in front of me. I hope this works out because, the bank account's getting low and all of that stuff might be true. Bank account might be low. You don't have any other opportunities right now. But if that's how you step into that space, how do you think that's going to be received? Like that, there's an energy there where your shoulders are kind of slumped and the way that you talk isn't like big and believable and true and like all that stuff. Like people sense that. And if I'm going to hire somebody to do video production for me, I want somebody that's going to bring life into the room and not suck it. And when you live from a scarcity mindset, you suck the life out of a room. Yeah, and you've been with those people and it's hard to be with those people. If you're that person, you can change. You can change the soundtrack. You can change your approach. You can change what you believe. Man, this sounds like a Tony Robbins seminar. But it's true. Okay, I'm going to move on. If somebody says, oh, I'm afraid of people, I'm afraid of people knowing what I charge because, or they can use that against me. They can charge less than me. they can get the job that I won't get. I'm afraid for people to know my pricing. I'm afraid for people knowing my approach because we've got this unique approach. I'm afraid of people figuring out how we budget for projects. Guess what? If what I'm about to share with you doesn't change your mind with how you think about, scarcity versus abundance, I don't know what will. I started a company called Studio Sherpas, which is this place where I share all of the things that I do inside of my video business, my video production business. I sell my budget sheet, the sheet that we use to quote jobs. I talk about the workshop that we sell to clients in our approach to how we lead these workshops, how we create these proposals, how I share all of that stuff. I share so much of that on this free podcast that anybody can listen to. I share more step by step. I share our email templates and scripts and phone calls and all of this stuff that you can get in the Video Business Academy, sponsored by, just kidding. But seriously, who am I selling it to? Who am I giving it to? I'm giving it to my competition. And guess what? Our business over the last few years, minus 2020, after 2016, well, and before, we have been on a trajectory upwards. We had our best year, second best year ever last year. Most revenue, second most profit last year. This podcast, this show was bigger last year than it was the year before. I know more people have bought the Video Business Academy, more people have bought the Budget Maximizer, more people have bought the 10K proposal, we have almost 300 episodes of the show where I'm talking about the guts of my video business. I'm sharing with the competition. If somebody should be scared about losing business to competition, it should be me. I want you to zoom out. I want you to see that there is almost endless opportunity. If you look at your city, if you look at the town that you live in, if you zoom out just a little bit and you look at like how many businesses are in a 1 mile radius, 10 mile radius, 100 mile, how many businesses are there? How many good video production companies are there out there? How many, and when I say good, I mean ones that care about human beings, that care about doing a great job, that strive for excellence, that want to serve. How many of them are out there? There's probably not that many. There's probably a bunch that are out there, but they're not you. And they probably don't listen to the show. I want you to zoom out and see that there is endless opportunities. So many businesses to help. So many different ways that video can help them. So if you just look at how many businesses there might be, then I want you to start thinking through like, well, what are the kinds of videos that businesses could use that would be helpful for them? Then you open up a whole can of worms. There's 360 video. There's social media where they can use it. They can use it on their website. They can use it in social Facebook ads, live streaming, in-person events, same day edits, same week edits, conferences that need. There are so many different kinds of video, so many different ways that video needs to be used. All those other, your competition or whatever you want to call them, your community, they can't serve in all the ways. So remember that. There's so much stinking work, even if you come from a small town. So when somebody's like, I'm from a small town, I don't believe that. I think that you can, within driving distance, there's work. And if not, then like, well, maybe you need to move. But if you're like, yeah, there's nobody here for a 100-mile radius. Literally, if there's nobody there, then you should probably, or just do everything virtual. Let your video services be all virtual. Read The Go-Giver. I've had Bob Berg on the show, one of the co-authors. I love this concept. I reread that book at the beginning of this year. Serve. If you think, how can I serve my competitors? How can I serve potential clients? How can I serve my past clients? Read that book and change your mind, because when you serve, it's hard to not, you're going to get something back when you serve, when you are helpful. And it might just be a more full heart, and that's cool. You can do a lot with a full heart. But sometimes when you serve and you're helpful, you actually, you'll get a job from that, or you'll get a referral. There's a new audiobook that I just downloaded. I just started listening to it. Rob Bell, some of you might know Rob Bell. He's written a few books, somewhat controversial. He wrote he did. I don't even think I think it's just an audiobook. It's called Grabbing the Bag, and it's all about money, and it's about it's like a biblical perspective on money. And he says like, hey, I just want to like kind of approach money how it's not really talked about a whole lot. And there's a proverb that says, let's see. It says, one person gives freely. This is what he shares in his audiobook. One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. So holding comes to poverty. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. I want to be somebody that refreshes. If I can refresh others and then be refreshed myself, that's incredible. And I think we can do that with our businesses. Give freely. Open your hands instead of like closing them and thinking that you need to like just hang on to whatever you've got and hold on for dear life, and you'll make something of it. Something will come out of that. Like you just got to work so hard. I don't think so. I think if you serve super hard, that works better and it's more enjoyable. Another practical, this is my last practical tip here. Take your competition, the other video companies in your area, take them out to lunch. And then ask them how you can serve them. Ask them how you can help them. How can you help their business grow? And then see what happens. I dare you to do that. Hey, Ryan, I dare you to start a thing called Studio Sherpas and like provide a lot of value and educate people on how they should charge more and, maybe some strategies on how they should price themselves and maybe, contracts or proposal template, help them like win more jobs. Oh, people right down the street from you too. Yeah, them too. Video companies down the street, help them. There's a story. I'm going to end with this. There's a story. I'm sure you've heard this. Guy goes to the doctor. Doctor's like, how's it going? He's like, oh man, I'm gonna divorce my wife. And doctor's like, oh, like tell me. Yeah, it's just not going great. It's like whatever. Doctor says, hey, I got an idea for you. Go to your wife. Just serve her. Do like buy her flowers, take her out, do all this stuff, and then do this for a week. Do it 7 days in a row, and then on that very last night, be like, ha. Gotcha. We're done. We're out of here. I'm out of here. He's like, do that. And man, it'll feel so good just to, trick her like that. And the guy's like, okay. And so he does that every night, serves her every day. He's just thinking of ways that he can serve her, whatever. And he gets to the end of the week and, he sees the doctor like later. He's like, doctor's like, so you get divorced? And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, our marriage is on fire. Like my wife, like she loves me. I can't live without her. It's the best thing ever. The idea there is if you can think about others, if you can serve others, if you can figure out how you can be helpful, add value, think, how can you do that for your clients, potential clients? Give them free resources online. Buy lunch for your competitors. Tell them you appreciate them and that you want their business to succeed. That's what I want for you. That's my hope for you, even if you are down the street from me. I hope that's helpful. I hope I didn't go off the deep end here on this episode. If you like this, you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, hit the like button. If you're watching on Facebook, leave a comment. Let me know what stood out to you, your big takeaway. You can always email me, ryan@studiosherpas.com. And I have a gift for you if you do want more confidence in client meetings. I teach what's called the Ascend method. This is a method that I've been using the last few years that has given me so much confidence. It's allowed me to enter that space in a room where I feel like, everybody's smarter, richer, better than me. And I can lead them through our process, our video process, and help them understand the value of video. This is there's a free cheat sheet. And I also have a walkthrough video of how we use the Ascend method. You can go to studiosherpas.com/ascend. That is my gift to you. If you feel like that would be helpful, go check that out. studiosherpas.com/ascend. That's all I've got for now. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you really, really soon. See ya.